The following script was written, verified, and approved by compliance professionals at financial regulation courses. FINRA Rule 4.511, Books and Records, General Requirements, is the foundational record-keeping rule that requires every FINRA member firm to make and preserve books and records as required under the FINRA Rules and the Securities Exchange Act of 1934. It establishes at the self-regulatory organization level the general obligation that underlies every specific record-keeping requirement, ensuring that all records are preserved in a format and media that complies with SEC Exchange Act Rule 17A-4. Rule 4511 is deliberately brief, but its reach is comprehensive. It is the umbrella rule that makes every other FINRA record-keeping requirement enforceable at the self-regulatory level. It connects specific record creation and preservation requirements into a single coherent framework governed by strict federal standards for electronic storage. The rule has been at the center of FINRA's most consequential recent enforcement actions, a sweeping wave against member firms for failures to capture and preserve business communications. These failures involved communications conducted through personal devices and off-channel platforms, resulting in billions of dollars in combined regulatory penalties since 2021. Rule 4.511 establishes three specific requirements that together constitute the general books and records obligation applicable to all FINRA member firms. The first requirement, established in Rule 4511A, is that members shall make and preserve books and records as required under FINRA rules and the Exchange Act. This requirement is a general incorporation of all existing and future specific obligations, ensuring that the obligation is uniformly applicable to every record type specified. The practical scope is enormous. SEC Rules 17A-3 and 17A-4 specify dozens of record types, including blotters, ledgers of customer accounts, memoranda of orders, and research reports. Rule 4.511A makes each of these specific SEC requirements an enforceable FINRA obligation as well, creating overlapping federal and self-regulatory enforcement authority. The second requirement in Rule 4.511B is the default retention period. Members must preserve for at least 6 years those records for which no specific period is specified. The 6-year default ensures that records are not destroyed prematurely, providing a conservative baseline that protects the regulatory record for investigations or litigation. For records with specifically stated periods, such as 3 years for most customer account records under SEC Rule 17A-4, the specified period governs rather than the default. The third requirement in Rule 4511C is that all records must be preserved in a format and media that complies with SEC Exchange Act Rule 17A-4. This ensures that technical standards governing electronic record storage, the format, and the tamper-proof nature are identical for both FINRA and Exchange Act records. SEC Rule 17A-4 is the primary federal standard. It establishes the technical requirements that determine how electronic books and records must be stored. The foundational technical requirement, amended in October 2022, requires preservation in a manner that meets one of two alternative standards. The first alternative, the traditional worm standard, requires storage that prevents alteration or destruction, maintaining records in a non-rewritable format. The second alternative permits an audit trail system that creates a verifiable record of any attempt to alter or delete records, capable of capturing such attempts. The 2022 amendments also modified rules for third-party record-keeping services, clarifying how firms may use cloud-based storage while maintaining accessibility. The prompt production requirement requires firms to produce records promptly upon request. Staff typically expect requested records within 2 to 5 business days. The most significant recent development is the enforcement wave targeting unapproved off-channel communications like WhatsApp and encrypted messaging. SEC Rule 17A-3 requires broker-dealers to keep records of all communications relating to their business, regardless of the platform or device used. Launched in 2021, these coordinated actions against major financial institutions resulted in billions in penalties and required comprehensive remediation programs. This wave has transformed the landscape, driving firms to implement strict surveillance, prohibit unapproved platforms, and educate staff at all levels. While Rule 4511 specifies the general obligation, the framework encompasses dozens of specific records required by SEC and FINRA rules throughout the rulebook. These obligations are directly connected to the supervisory requirements of FINRA Rule 3110, which must address the firm's books and records program. Supervisory control testing under Rule 312 must include verification that records are created, preserved in compliant formats, and readily accessible. The key points to retain are these. Rule 4.511A incorporates all requirements. 4.511B sets a 6-year default, and 4.511C enforces SEC technical standards. The 2022 amendments to SEC Rule 17, A-4, and the massive off-channel enforcement wave have fundamentally transformed electronic communications compliance across the industry. Your finance career deserves more than another certificate. Explore financialregulationcourses.com for innovative professional memberships and intelligent career tools.